it's all pre-taped.
Okay, hi, I'm Diane Kresh, host of Live from Diane's Living Room. We're not live, we are local. And I'm joined today by newly minted Deputy Chief of the Fire Department, Tiffanye Wesley. And we're going to have a conversation about her recent promotion, the fact that she's a local first, and what it's like to be in the fire department during a pandemic. So welcome, Tiffanye. Delighted to have you here this afternoon.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
So you just got promoted, and tell me, you are the first in the region to be promoted to this level. Is that the first woman, the first Black woman, the first? Tell me more.
So I am the first, obviously, in Arlington County, but also the first African-American woman in the Northern Virginia region. And I believe I am the first woman in the Northern Virginia region. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm the first.
And you have worked for the fire department for how long?
26 years. I celebrated 26 years on October 30th.
Okay. And were you originally from this area or no?
I'm from Prince George's County, yes.
Okay. So you're kind of local. So what happened? I mean, why the fire department? What was attractive to you about that for a career?
So it actually never even was a thought of my mind. I was actually going to school for hotel restaurant management.
Okay.
I wanted to be a chef, just like I have a big brother. I wanted to be a chef just like my big brother.
Oh, great.
And I started going to school, got an internship in Disney World, actually, to be a chef down there. And I went, and before I went, I eloped to my high school boyfriend. And so I eloped at 18, had a baby girl at 19. And I was in between where I really needed a career. I had to drop out of school, obviously. And so I heard an announcement on a radio that said they were looking for men and women. I'm not sure they were looking for women, but that's what they said 26 years ago. And so I said, let me try it. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
So let's go back a little bit. So that was late, maybe 1990, around that. Okay. And so what was the work environment like in 1990 when you were trying to break into the field?
My class had the most women ever Arlington had ever seen. We had 6 all at one time. Yeah. And so when we came in, the academy, it was a challenge, but it was a little easier because we had 6 women. Mm-hmm. So we would have those strenuous times, and then we would pile in the women's locker room and just, talk it out. And so we had somebody there to share those experiences with and kind of, boost us up and encourage each other, quite frankly.
Right. Now, what kind of things do they have you doing when you're in the training academy? Is it mostly physical? Is it situational? How would you figure out how to handle XYZ? Tell me a little bit about it because I know nothing about it.
Okay, it's everything. It's very strenuous. There's the educational piece because you have to be presented the work, and then you have to have a certain percentage to pass the test. So they're tests throughout the academy. Okay. And if you don't pass the written tests, the exams, it's opportunities each stage of it that you can fail out.
Okay.
Then you have to pass your emergency medical technician because we're all firefighter EMTs.
Okay.
So you have to pass that basic level. And then there's the strenuous part when you get into the fire school, which is actually learning how to put a fire out.
Okay.
And some people may think it's easy, but there's math involved, filling out, it's hydraulics. Yes, that's how I was.
Wow, that would be, I'm out. I'm out already.
Yes, I hate math.
Yeah.
And so the hydraulics was challenging because there's math behind it. You have to understand how much water to put in the hose and how many lines you can flow. So it's a lot of work. And then just the physical, aspect of it,
Now, did you have to do things where you had to suit up and wear all the equipment and carry all the stuff and go up a ladder or anything like that?
Absolutely. And so that's another, part aspect. Like I totally knew nothing about what I was getting into. And so I encourage women, whatever discipline you go in, research the job. I had never been in a firehouse. I
Right.
didn't know any firefighters when I joined. So I came in totally green, as they would say. And even I was probably 120 pounds soaking wet when I started.
Hmm.
So imagine adding on an extra 70, 75 pounds on top of that,
I can't.
you know. Yeah. So
And okay, so you're doing this rigorous thing that you probably hadn't thought much about before you tried to get into the field. Did you ever have these moments? And I'm talking about basic training where you thought, "Oh, wow, this is just really not for me."
yeah, so I guess I need to go back to the beginning, even getting into the department. So
Okay.
it took me 3 times to pass the physical agility.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and so it was like that first time, go try it, go try it. The second time I tried it again. And it was somewhere between the second and third that I realized I'm going to have to prepare for this. Like, this is not, if I really want to do this, I have to put in some real work,
Sure.
push
Sure.
ups and getting my upper body prepared. And so I
Wow.
finally passed on that third and final attempt. And interesting, this is a part of the story I normally don't share a lot. I've started to share it of late, but I started with Fairfax and I went through their entire academy. And the week before graduation, it was a hasty hitch operation where it was repelling where you hook somebody up and you have to bring them out of a window. Well,
Yeah.
they said I didn't do it correctly and they let me go, meaning I was fired the
Oh,
week
wow.
before. Yeah.
Oh, that's tough.
Yes. So I was fired the week before graduation.
Oh,
Invitations had already been sent for my graduation and cookout party
oh
celebration.
no.
Yeah. And so that moment, that time was so devastating. I made up in my mind, no matter what, because at that point, that was, I can't remember whether it was 17 or 21 weeks. But after all that time, I said, I want to reapply somewhere else. And nothing was going to stop me. Nothing was going to keep me from, um, at that point, I wanted to do the job.
Right.
I had worked so hard towards it. So,
Wow. That takes an incredible amount of courage and perseverance,
yes.
which, knowing you as I do, just a little bit, you've got a lot of both. So you get to Arlington, you pass the basic training, you become part of the team and part of the core. So what were the early years like?
Whew. So the early years were 3 years were good. They were fun. I was sent to Station 5 in Crystal City.
Okay.
It was an African American male officer, captain, that I still keep in contact. I still call him my second daddy today, to this
Oh,
day.
that's terrific.
And the station was predominantly African American.
Mhm.
And so when I tell people this part of the story, I felt like I was coming into with big brothers. I have an older brother and an older sister, so it
Okay.
was more welcoming. Um, so that was the first 3 years. But then when I started to pass my, the probationary process, and then you're starting to go be sent out, which is called detail to other stations, and
Uh-huh.
whether it's for a day or whatever the case, that's when I realized that it wasn't so much that family that they talk
Okay.
about that you see on the TV shows. Um, I would walk in the stations, people didn't speak.
Oh, wow.
I didn't understand that, and I talk about that now when I teach because I grew up in a two-parent Christian household. So I didn't understand. I grew up where you walk into a room, you speak, people will
Sure.
speak back. And so
Sure.
I didn't understand that coldness. I didn't understand how, if you're not speaking to me now, if we get on a fire truck, I'm expected to trust you with
Yeah.
my life and feel like you were gonna, if I fall on the floor, you're gonna pick me up and pull me out. I didn't necessarily feel safe.
Yeah. Now,
Right.
was that part of the sort of the ritual of hazing, getting into a new operation, or people were just flat out unfriendly?
I think it was a little of both.
Okay.
I would probably say it was a little of both. Firefighting is that traditional, break you down to build you up.
Okay.
That paramilitary, that it doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone is not built with that, upbringing or.
Sure. And okay, but you withstood that, right?
Yeah.
You just kept coming back and
Mhm.
coming back. And in order to have that kind of strength, you talked about your upbringing, two-parent Christian upbringing, but what were the other tools that you used to keep yourself together and sane and believing in yourself?
So that bond that we created in recruit school,
Uh-huh.
with the other women, we had a strong bond. So we relied on each other. We would call each other, and just, what's going on at your station? Hang in there. You can do this. That kind of.
Good.
And then when I would come back to my own station, I felt at home again. So,
Right.
it was kind of like, okay, endure this for the day, endure this for this 24
Sure.
hours, but I know I'm going back home to my
Right.
family, to my big brothers who tease me. They tease me, but I felt welcomed. I felt, valued. I felt respected in that station. Yeah.
Okay. So now as you started to want to go up the chain to get promotions and things like that, like how many years in were you before you thought, oh, maybe I'd like to move up in the organization?
So I started to, just observe and learn my job. And it was 2003 that I took my first test.
Okay.
And I did really well. We do a banding system, like highly qualified, more than, and so on and so forth.
Uh-huh.
And
Sure.
so my first test, I came out in highly qualified.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was excited. I was actually an instructor at the training academy.
Okay.
Um, and training the recruits. And so I still remember the day and have the picture where when I found out that I had come out in the promotable category, they lift me up on top of one of the guys' heads, and one of the recruits, they lift me up. And so I was excited because there was
Uh-huh.
a possibility to be promoted. And I
Okay.
didn't get it.
Okay.
But it was okay because I was like, this is my first test. It's okay. And so we test every 2 years.
Okay.
So again, in 2005, I took another test, same thing, came out on top category. And
Mm-hmm.
I also applied for the fire marshal's office because I understood that I needed to branch out and do different things and
Oh,
not
sure.
just be on the
Right.
back step of a fire truck. I didn't see a lot of value there because there was so many other things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, 2005, not only myself, but two other females, we all came out in the category. And again, none of us were promoted. In 2005, I began to see some things, and I'm like, this isn't right. It's not fair. Like we came out in the category. Why aren't we getting promoted? And
Okay.
so I actually filed a lawsuit in 2005
Okay.
for promotion for gender and race. Took to 2007, and again, here I am. I'm taking another test, and we instituted lieutenants at that time. It's back into our rank structure.
Right.
Again, came out top category, and I was promoted to lieutenant. And then a week later, I found out that the EEOC had ruled in my favor.
Okay.
But that didn't mean anything. I thought it meant something. It didn't mean anything. As I was to later find out, that's just an administrative step you have to go through.
I heard you speak a couple of years ago, maybe it was during Women's History Month,
Yes.
and you spoke very well. You were very passionate with your speech, and it was very inspiring. And you used the refrain, "Nevertheless, she persisted."
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Okay, and so it doesn't take too much imagination to see that that phrase could also apply to you and your career.
Yes.
And okay. And was that part of why that phrase stuck with you, that, yeah, that this feels right. This speaks for me.
Yes, absolutely. Just knowing the backstory to that, and knowing all, just going through all that I went through. And nevertheless, I persisted. I kept coming, even when they told me they didn't think I should have been hired or have been here, I still kept coming. So that's kind of like that. Nevertheless, she persisted.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're
like
here
that. Yeah.
and you got promoted. So now you're deputy chief.
Yes.
And that's a lot of responsibility, a lot of additional responsibility. So what are you most looking forward to as you begin this next phase of your career? What's exciting you the most?
Whew. So, um,
Besides everything.
yes, yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting because a lot of people are watching. A lot of people are inspired by my story, and those that know the backstory, because I don't always share
Sure.
the whole story, but I do think it's important to point out, because some people watch and they may think, oh, she just went in the fire department and rose to the ranks. No, they need to understand that there's a lot that is behind that. Once you begin to believe who you are, that's when you know that the possibilities are endless.
Yes.
I understood going through that case that a lot of people, aren't able to endure that, because there was a time I wanted to leave. I wanted to walk away. I was, and my husband, who works here, also encouraged me to keep going. You're doing the right thing. And so,
well, I think too of what a symbol you are for other people. Like you said in the interview with Pat Collins the other day, you can achieve whatever you set your mind to.
absolutely.
And you're clearly you walk that talk. But just, you didn't just walk in and get handed promotion.
Right.
Promotion. You had to
Work
prove yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And work through disappointment, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And just what a terrific role model that is for other people who maybe are a little impatient with success and not wanting to wait and pay the dues and all that. Do you think it's still pretty hard for women to get the attention, respect they deserve in the professional workplace?
It is. It's still difficult.
Uh-huh.
But at least, and that's why I like doing as much as I can get out and show, because it's still difficult. But the more you're able to see somebody else in position, obviously I wasn't able to see that here. I was able to see a battalion chief, female battalion chief here, Judy Brewer. And so, once you see somebody in a position, then you say, okay, she did it,
Right.
so I can do it.
Right. Exactly.
But it's still very difficult. All over the country, I get calls all the time of women, and the funny thing is, I probably get as many men reaching out now. I initially thought my calling was women, but I get as many men, inboxing me, asking me, for suggestions, for help, just how to navigate, the system, and how was I able to do it.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the pandemic because it's been
Okay.
with us, obviously, pretty oppressively since March, and you've been on the front line of it. So what has pandemic life been like for you in the department?
Whew, it was a lot of work. So I was fortunate enough to work from home during the pandemic, but I was dual rolling. So in December, I was the special operations chief, but the fire chief asked me to dual role as the health and safety as well.
Okay.
This is pre-pandemic, so we had no idea what was coming.
Okay.
And so, of course, I was like, okay, I can do that. Little did I know this pandemic was coming. And so I was pretty much involved with all of the decon research and procedures on that side for special operations, as well as the isolations, quarantine, all of that for health and safety.
Sure.
And if that wasn't enough, I agreed to sign on and be the emergency operations center rep for the department.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
It paid off, because it paid off in the end for the interview, but it was a lot. It was a lot.
And the fire department's been hit kind of hard too, right? Haven't a number of the firefighters gone down with COVID or had to be in quarantine? Right.
But relative to the region, we are doing really well. We're still doing really well.
That's great. All right, I mean, that's great. So you must be doing something right regarding safety protocols
Yep,
and
absolutely.
all that kind of stuff. So now in your new role, are you ever going to go out on the truck again or on a call just to keep your hand in, or is that just not done at your level?
So at this level, I am responsible for what we call a duty chief.
Okay.
So 1 week out of every, I think it's 6 weeks, I have to be on, it's an on-call status. So if there's something going on in the county where both chiefs are involved, I would have to come in.
Okay.
But it's not necessarily riding on the fire truck. It's I would be more in a command role.
I have always wanted to ride on a fire truck.
Really? I
yeah.
can set that up. You can.
Well, I think that would be a blast. I mean, I'm not talking about like hanging on the back or anything like that.
Right.
But just, you know, that experience, because I don't know, there's something just so heroic about being in the fire truck and being on the front line of a dangerous and difficult situation and saving lives, right? Saving lives. Well, we'll have to talk about that. I'll have
to see what you'll have to wear N95 like everyone else, of course. But
of course, absolutely.
Hopefully this COVID ends soon and we can go back to.
Yeah. We can all hope that. Well, I'm grateful for colleagues like you. I think
thank you. I appreciate it.
Terrific. I think you're going to be able to do even more for the fire department than you have to date. And just as I say, representing what's possible to our young people, whether they're young women or young men, I think that's you're a terrific role model. And I couldn't be more proud of your achievement and to have this chance to talk with you today. So we'll wind up and we'll wish you a happy birthday for Monday.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to working together in the future. And I will hold you for that ride on the fire truck.
I'm going to put a note down. I am. I'm going to put a note down that I owe you a ride on the fire truck.
Sounds
good.
I
appreciate you. Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Yep. My pleasure. All right, Tiffany, thanks very much.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.